what's driving our world forward? There are three fundamental forces which is actually shaping the 21st century. But how can machines learn? How are machines learning? What is it trying to do? How ChatGPT works? Why is it printing word by word? What is happening behind the scenes? Most of the operations happening inside an AI model is, there is a condition called diabetic retinopathy, which is kind of irreversible. They actually found out that you can predict diabetic retinopathy by analyzing the patterns in your nerve. We all learned that CPUs are the brains of the computers, right? Then why we are using GPUs now? The next big thing is AI agents. This is the latest happening thing in the tech world. AI agent market will be 10x the SaaS market. What's an AI agent? I've been asked to talk about the future, AI, how it's going to impact industry and how it works, etc. So I'll try my best. A bit of background about myself, especially my engineering background. I did my BTech and MTech from IIT Madras. I did BTech in electrical engineering, MTech in VLSI design and microelectronics. I've been working with Intel for last 9 years. Currently, I work on GPU designs, graphic processing unit designs. This is a very exciting era to be in, right? Honestly, a lot of things are happening around us. Last year, OpenAI released an LLM, a large language model called ChatGPT. I am very sure each one of you would have used ChatGPT at some point of your life. And what happened, I think last week was again pretty amazing. China actually challenged US by releasing DeepSeek, right? DeepSeek. They did it at the 5% cost of ChatGPT, right? Which is pretty amusing, and probably we can talk about how they did it, right? That's also part of my agenda today. A lot of people ask, right, what holds in future? Generally, I tell the answer, quoting, this is actually attributed to Peter Drucker as well as Abraham Lincoln. The best way to predict future is to create it, right? The best way to predict future is to create it. And I think I very honestly believe that this is the time to create future. What's driving our world forward? That's the first question I wanted to begin with. What's driving our world forward? There are three fundamental forces which is actually shaping the 21st century. Can you name it? What do you think is driving the world forward? There are three things which make AI possible. Okay. Energy, rather than the first thing is connectivity, right? I think you are all working in the field of connectivity in a way, right? Everything is connected now, right? It's not just about mobile phones or computers, even our smartphones, everything is connected to internet now. And what comes with connectivity is data, right? We are all very vocal about data here, right? Data is the new oil, or the new buzzword, right? The 90% of data that we have right now didn't exist 2 years before, right? Everything is created in last 2 years or 3 years, right? And how AI is possible? Because we are trying to find patterns in data, right? And how is that possible? It's with the computing power that we have. The companies like NVIDIA, Intel, Qualcomm, ARM, right? We are all actually taking that advantage. The compute power is kind of increasing in an exponential way, right? I would say it's following we all know about the Moore's law, and it's actually following Moore's law. It's right now the chip I'm working right now, it is being designed in 18 Armstrong. The transistor width and length is 18 Armstrong. It's just gone beyond the nanometer. It's not the nano science era now. We have gone past nanometers. We are into Armstrongs now. Okay. Then there is a question that with connectivity, data and compute, but how can machines learn? How are machines learning? So I asked your founders, like, should I put this? Should we talk about how AI works? Because you're all engineers, but still I got an advice that we should talk about this. Okay. So I need a volunteer to anyone can come to the stage. Let's learn how AI works. Okay, who is joining with me on the stage? It's a platform called QuickDraw, developed by Google. So I'll click Let's Draw. Okay, it will ask you to draw something. Draw a fire truck in under 20 seconds. Yeah. You can use the touch screen, I think. He's trying to draw a fire truck. You can see the suggestions down, right? Line, square, oven, power outlet, dresser, calendar, Great Wall of China, train, pickup truck. No, it's okay. You can actually use the touch screen. Draw campfire in under 20 seconds. Triangle, tent. Oh, I know it's a campfire. It has identified it's a campfire. Give him a big hand. Oh, it's very easy one. So how does machine understand this is a flower or a moon or a fire truck? Yeah, you can answer now. It's very easy. Yeah. Exactly, right? They release the tool. They have a basic image set. And see, once you guys drew this, right? Now it is more experience, right? The next time it will train on more data. Ultimately, you have a lot of data. And the model is trained on that data, right? The model is trained on that data. And with the data, it's trying to find some patterns in it. And from that patterns, ultimately it's trying to find a pattern to which it is matching, right? That's what this doodle is doing. So this is how machine learning works. It's just like it's learning from experience. It's learning by training, right? That's why the process is called training. It's like training a student for an exam. So how does a machine learning model works? You're giving some input. There is a model, right? Trying to figure out what it's trying to do, right? And that model, for example, if you're giving an image of a coffee mug, that model is trying to figure out, right? This is a coffee mug. This is matching with the previous data that I have of a coffee mug, right? Or you're giving us a text as an input, just like in ChatGPT. What is it trying to do? How ChatGPT works? I will not go very details into that or much deeper into that, but I'll see, when you ask something to ChatGPT, will it print word by word or will it print a complete answer? It will print word by word. Why is it printing word by word? It's trying to predict the next word. Okay. It has a set of words which can come next. It is assigning probabilities to that word and it is trying to predict the next word based on the probability. It's all mathematics, right? So it's trying to predict the next word. So what is the next word, right? In between, there is some AI model which is working. And what is this AI model? These are all AI models which are some matrices from mathematical terms. It's all matrices with some kind of tunable parameters, a lot of parameters, and it's all matrices, right? And what are these parameters actually? I'll give you one simple example. Suppose you want to predict the rent of a house or the cost of a house in Kochi. Okay. What are the parameters that actually kicks in? Location, right? The square foot, like how much square foot is the house, right? The facilities, the community that is around, right? So multiple features are there. Let's suppose there is only one parameters which is actually mattering, right? Which is square footage of the house. Then we'll plot different points with different houses. That's the data we have. We are trying to train the model with that data, right? Then we are trying to fit a line, right? So that we can predict the price of a house with square foot, right? How many parameters does this graph have? 2 parameters. What are the parameters? From a mathematical perspective, it's a straight line. A straight line has 2 parameters, slope and y-intercept, right? You would have all heard y equal to mx plus c. Imagine a model like ChatGPT. How many parameters does ChatGPT has? 175 billion parameters. 175 billion parameters, right? Which are actually arranged in 28,000 matrices. Ultimately, these are what is happening behind the scene. It's all matrix multiplication. It's all matrix multiplication which is actually happening behind the scenes. We would have, like each and every one of us would have thought, like when we were learning matrices and determinants in class 12, what the hell is this? Why do we even need this, right? Is it just a way of arranging numbers? Why are we multiplying things, taking inverse, doing a lot of calculations? We have never come across a practical application but ultimately everything happening, most of the operations happening inside an AI model is just a matrix multiplication. It's just a matrix multiplication. ChatGPT has around 175 billion parameters, which are actually organized to 27,938 matrices. What is ChatGPT trained with? ChatGPT is trained with the whole internet, a lot of books, a lot of data, a lot of material, right? From that, there is some process called back propagation and all with how these parameters are set. I'll not talk about those. But ultimately, these are all happening. What is happening behind is matrix multiplication, right? Now, connect with whatever you're working with, industrial IoT or automation, right? How this can be useful to you. What do you think? Any ideas? There could be a lot of applications that you can think of, right? One thing we discussed was predictive maintenance, right? From fix it when it breaks to fix it before it breaks, right? So unplanned downtime cost in industries like is $50 billion per year. So whether we can predict the failure of a motor, right, that we are working with, or predict the failure of a sensor, right, or some kind of fault detection in a pipeline, right? So we are actually, you're all actually generating a lot of data, right? Through whatever you are gathering through your sensors is data. But all those are meaningless now unless you actually try to gather some pattern from that. Right? You have to gather some pattern, you have to find out some pattern from that, then that data becomes wisdom. That data becomes actually useful, right? Multiple problems we can think of, right? Turning raw data into wisdom, right? Engineers drown in sensor data, right? We have a lot of data from sensors, right? Sensors are like that neurons that we have which senses a lot of things. And AI is the brain that we have to work with, right? If we use that brain correctly, we can actually find out a lot of patterns from there. There's an interesting research which is done by Google. Google has a health arm called Verily, and they have a collaboration with an Indian hospital called Aravind Eye Hospital. Aravind Eye Hospital. What Aravind Eye Hospital has done with Google is that they have digitalized their data. And there is something remarkable they found. There is a condition called diabetic retinopathy, which is kind of irreversible, right? As you age, you might get into diabetic retinopathy. They actually found out that you can predict diabetic retinopathy by analyzing the patterns in your nerve 10 years before. 10 years before, you can identify that this person can have diabetic retinopathy, right? From the patterns of the blood vessels in their eye. I'll ask you a simple question, right? You order something from Amazon or Flipkart, okay? You don't like the product, what do? You return, right? When you return a product, if you're returning a product to a shop in Ernakulam or Cochin, there might be a lot of arguments. There might be a lot of negotiations going on. If you're returning to Amazon or Flipkart, will they ask any questions? They might just ask, why are you returning? You'll put some answer randomly, whatever you want. And what happens next? Someone comes at your door and take it back. Why? Do they really have to do this? Do they really have to take the product back from you? Why? Why are they taking the product back from you? The reason is that, see, suppose 1,000 persons return some items. Okay. If they don't accept the return, 10 of them or 15 of them may go towards any legal litigations. They might go to consumer court or something, right? The cost of returning 1,000 orders, right? It is less than going into litigation with 15 people. They have predicted this with their AI models. That's the simplest reason why they're actually taking back the returns. More than customer experience or more than the data they have with it, right? AI is like the brain of your IoT system. Sensors are the nerves collecting the data. Networks are the spinal cord transmitting the signals, and AI is the brain which is making the decisions. We have to, going forward, we have to treat this like that. Okay, and then comes the compute, right? We all grown up in computer labs in our schools. We all like to deal with computers, right? We used CPU then, central processing unit. We all learned that CPUs are the brains of the computers, right? then why we are using GPUs now? Think of it this way, right? What were these graphic cards doing, right? You have an image in your computer, right? It's transforming that image into the next image very efficiently, right? When you put graphics cards into your computer, your games will start being better, right? Your games will be better now, right? Now, what is actually happening? That screen is actually divided into millions of pixels, right? Each part of the screen is divided into millions of pixels. Actually, it's actually doing some matrix transformation to the screen. Each pixel, there is some addition or multiplication going on to transfer to the next screen, right? Ultimately, it's all RGB color combinations. You are shifting the color from one color to other. What is happening? It's a matrix addition or multiplication, right? This is the ultimate difference between a CPU and GPU. While a CPU has 4 to 8 cores, a GPU has hundreds or thousands of cores. It has high throughput. It is very good in parallel computing, right? It breaks jobs into separate tasks and process them simultaneously. This is the reason why NVIDIA share value has gone up to the skies, right? This is why NVIDIA is one of the most valued company. They somehow found out that when AI came, these graphics cards are better than CPUs in actually dealing with the data, right? So we have a lot of data. We have to do a lot of matrix multiplication. So instead of CPU, plug in the GPU, right? So that's what NVIDIA has done. Why? When DeepSeek came, NVIDIA's stock value crashed. Why? Because they are also using NVIDIA GPUs only. They have found an efficient way of, NVIDIA's profit margin is actually 90%. 90% margin they have on their product, which is, I don't think any other company in the planet has that much profit margin on their single product. Okay, one NVIDIA GPU actually costs, I think, 35 or 40 lakhs. So to train OpenAI model, to train ChatGPT, OpenAI has used around 25,000 NVIDIA processors, GPUs. Okay, and it has been running these algorithms for 90 days continuously. 25,000 into 90 days is making all these 175 billion parameters. Okay, DeepSeek is a Chinese company, and there is a US-China export war going on. They have very limited number of GPUs. China doesn't have any GPUs. They have very old NVIDIA GPUs, which is from 2022. They had it performance capped. It was actually like performance capped by US to have the export, right? And they did it with 2,000 GPUs. DeepSeek did it with 2,000 GPUs with 30 days. With 30 days. So that's how they found efficient algorithms, efficient mathematics to deal with this, right? And it has actually opened a lot of doors to all of us, because we thought AI computing is going to be very costly. So this is why I told it's a very exciting time to be in. Right now, the AI compute efficiency has increased and the cost has come down. And this presents an opportunity to a lot of companies, a lot of small companies, medium-sized companies, to have their own AI models. The next big thing is AI agents. The next big thing is AI agents. So this is something that we have to be, like, this is a latest happening thing in the tech world. The AI agent market will be 10x the SaaS market. 10x the SaaS market. Okay, so what's an AI agent? What's an AI agent? An AI agent is actually designed to do a very specific job and help us to do something specific very effectively, right? I'll give you an example. If you ask an LLM, what's the weather in Paris or what's the weather in Kochi, right? Does it know that? It doesn't know, right? Does an LLM know what's the weather in Kochi? No, it don't know, because it's not trained on their data. It's not trained on real-time data, right? It knows is that it knows what it is asking. It understands the question, right? It understands the question, so what's the current weather? It can actually parse that question and understand that question, right? And suppose there is a tool attached to that. There's a tool attached to LLM that we have, right? Which can sense the temperature, or suppose there's a weather API, right? Which actually fetches real-time data, and we put that along with an LLM. What happens? That's the magic of AI agents, right? So what's the current weather in New York? It asks, right? It will think, right? That's the first thing it does. The user needs current weather information for New York. I have access to a tool that fetches the weather data, right? First, I need to call the weather API to get up-to-date details, right? So LLM knows how to do this. LLM has this thinking capability, right? Now it knows it has to call the weather API, right? The LLM calls the weather API, get weather, location New York. This is the act step. Think the second step is act step. So it has a tool attached to this. So this is what makes an AI agent very powerful. A LLM plus a tool attached to it, right? So this is the act step. And then the weather API gives back the output, right? The current weather in New York, it's partly cloudy, blah, 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 blah. This is the observation step. The third, think, act, and observation. So who does the observation? Again, LLM does the observation. The large language model does the observation. It thinks again. Now that I have the weather data for New York, I can compile an answer for the user. And it gives the answer back to the user, right? The current weather in New York is partly cloudy with a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius and a 60% humidity, right? This is the power of AI agents. So LLM, like we call it GPT, right? GPT. What does GPT stands for? Generative pre-trained transformers. Generative pre-trained transformers. What does pre-trained means? It can learn again, right? It's pre-trained. It's pre-trained with something, but it doesn't mean that it cannot be trained again. It can be trained again, right? It's pre-trained, but you can still fine-tune it with some kind of process, right? Suppose you have to, you create an AI agent which takes some, for example, your motor speed or something, right? Right? You need to have some tool, some sensor feeding that data to the LLM, and you can tell the LLM how to use that. You can upload the manuals that you have. You can ask the LLM to read those manuals and find out a user-friendly way to provide the output to the customer, right? That's all. All those things you can do, right? The future, digital twins. There could be a physical machine and a digital twin of it sitting in the cloud or an edge, right? And it might simulate, right? These digital twins are like, it can predict future, right? With the data points it has, it will be able to find out when something goes for a maintenance, when something might break in near future, right? It might be able to predict with the data it has, right? And edge intelligence, more advanced models running on embedded device near the sensors, reduce latency, real-time control loops. Autonomous factories are the future, and there will be evolving standards and ecosystems, right? Greater collaboration among manufacturers, cloud providers, AI frameworks, common data models, interoperable platforms, right? Open source AI solutions. All these are going to be the future. Okay, so yeah, let's rethink. The best way to predict future is to create it, right? That's something that we should have in mind. Let's rethink on these words or ponder on these words more, because this is the time, this is a very exciting time to create the future. If we are not creating it, someone else is going to create that future, and they are going to be, just like NVIDIA, what NVIDIA has done, right? They are going to capitalize on the situation. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for being very nice audience being participating in this discussion, and thanks for having me here. Thank you.